Okay, this is the final video that relates to your assignment question 1. I had to cut the first video short because YouTube only allows you to upload videos of 15 minutes in length. So in this video we're just going to have a look and a discussion on some of the numbers that we have calculated. Now we've talked about these during the lectures. The first thing we look at is some of the cumulative percentages. Now you can choose a couple. It's a good idea to choose a couple, but you can choose any one you want. There might be one that sticks out, that seems a very high number or a strange number. So the first one I'm going to choose is this one here, this 15.2%. Now you see I've written a comment here. Oops, it's disappearing. So what do we say about this? Well, we can say that 15%, or 137 people, spend less than £300, because if you look across, that's our group, 150 to 300. Therefore 85%, or the other half of the 15%, which actually is 763 people, that's the total of 900, take away the 137 that we have, spend more than £300. Let's look at another one, this one here. Just over 80%, or 748 people, spend less than £750. Therefore just under 20%, or the remainder, 152 people, spend more than £750. You need to practice being able to pick out a couple of those percentages and talking about them in those terms. It might be spend, it might not in your assignment, so be careful that you use the right words. Okay, let's have a look at the standard deviation. Well, as discussed during our lectures, it's actually quite difficult to comment on the standard deviation with just one value. It's better when we're comparing different data sets, and you actually have to do that in your assignment. But just looking at this one example, it's £262. Well, all our values are only between 0 and 1,350. So to me, a standard deviation which measures the spread around the mean actually seems quite large. And that's telling me that the data values are actually spread around the whole of the data set, not clustered around the value of the mean. The median, £550 that we read off our ogive. Well, that was quite easy. 50% spend less than this value and 50% spend more than this value. Q1, or the 25% value. 25% spend below £375 and 75%, or the rest of them, spend more than £375. Q3, 75% spend less than £700 and therefore the rest of them, 25%, spend more than £700. Also at this point we can look at the middle 50%. That's the people who are between 25 and 75%, the middle 50% of people. And they spend between £375 and £700. Now that to me seems quite a wide spread. So again, that indicates that our data is not tightly clustered around our median, it's quite spread out. And that helps confirm the thought that we had in our standard deviation. In order to further confirm this, we calculate the semi-interquartile range. And that is a value of 162.5. And again, in my opinion, that is quite large, and again indicates that the values are not all close to the value of the median. Again, it's the same as the standard deviation. The semi-interquartile range is better if we are comparing it with two or more data sets. We go on to the skew. Now when I looked at the histogram in the last video, I wasn't totally convinced that it was symmetrical. It's sort of, but it's not a typical symmetrical shape. So we use the value of the mean and the median to help us make our mind up. And in this case, the mean and the median are identical. Even if they were very close, that would confirm to me that our histogram is a symmetrical and not a positive or negative skew. If the distribution is symmetrical, then the measure of average and dispersion that we use is the mean and the standard deviation. If our histogram or data was skewed, either positive or negative, then the value of average and dispersion that we use would be the median and the semi-interquartile range. So another note, and I'll put that up here where I've got some space. So the data is next line. Right. As the data is symmetrical, we use the mean and standard deviation. That is everything for question 1 of your assignment. So good luck. Thank you.